In the quiet dawn of the 21st century, the world was introduced to something unprecedented: social media. It was heralded as the Great Connector, a revolution that promised to shrink the vast distances between humans, to democratize voices, and to bring communities closer. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and later Instagram blossomed at a breakneck pace, transforming from mere digital spaces into the fabric of daily life. At first, it was exhilarating: the surge of instant communication, the endless exchange of ideas, the ability to stay connected with friends across continents. It was seemingly endless potential in a small, glowing screen. But underneath this promise lay the seeds of something darker, something unanticipated. As users flocked and politicians, corporations, and everyday individuals began tapping into this new realm, cracks started to appear in the shiny veneer. Shadows lengthened in the digital glow. Early warning signs flickered like brief alarms, misinformation spreading wildly, creating confusion, echo chambers amplifying polarized voices, fake accounts sowing discord and chaos with uncanny precision. To an untrained eye, these were mere anomalies, glitches of a new digital playground. Yet, beneath the surface, a sinister undercurrent was stirring, waiting to be exploited. Initially, these conflicts played out as trivial disputes. Arguments over a trending meme, accusations exchanged in comment sections, petty identity clashes. But something was brewing beneath the surface, a recipe of manipulation that would reshape the very nature of conflict itself. Actors, state and non-state, began to see social media not just as a battleground for public opinion but as a tool to influence, destabilize, and even destroy. It started subtly. A foreign government noticing the power of online agitation, employing bots and fake accounts to simulate outrage, to deviate public discourse from critical issues. A political group spreading divisive narratives to fracture societal cohesion. Corporate interests wielding social media to sway elections, to shape consumer behavior on a massive scale. These were early whispers of a new kind of warfare, one waged in digital shadows, where the battlefield was ideological, the weapons were misinformation and psychological manipulation, and the casualties were real people's lives, fractured identities, and fractured societies. Conflict, once visible on the physical field, guns, tanks, armies, now took on an invisible guise. The lines between truth and lie blurred amid the feeds, the likes, the retweets. What was social media? A space for free expression? Or a weapon designed to manipulate perceptions and sow chaos? Over time, the evidence stacked. Orchestrated social movements fueled by bots, foreign interference in elections, viral videos that incited violence or hatred. Each a sting in the fabric of social stability. But how did we arrive at this point? How did platforms meant to connect us become tools capable of tearing us apart? It was a gradual evolution. Initially, social media was a tool, an extension of ourselves, a mirror of society's hopes and fears. But without guardrails, it became an open corridor, easy to exploit. Algorithms fed on engagement, on raw emotion. Outrage, fear, and anger were amplified, turning quiet dissent into roaring protests and, sometimes, into violent clashes. Throughout this evolution, the line between civilian and combatant blurred. Ordinary users, unwitting or manipulated, became cogs in a vast machinery of influence. Troll farms operated in shadows, churning out content designed not to inform but to inflame. Governments and clandestine entities learned to harness these tools, understanding that a well-placed tweet could ignite a riot, that viral misinformation could destabilize nations. And so, social media platforms, once celebrated as the great equalizers, began to resemble weapons of modern warfare. Their capacities were weaponized, their influence weaponized, in ways our ancestors couldn't have imagined. The transition from mere social networks to digital arsenals was subtle at first but now irrefutable, a testament to how technology, when unchained and unregulated, can morph into instruments of conflict. The digital realm, once a sanctuary for free expression, had become a battlefield where truth was fragile and manipulation was boundless. As we explore this dark transformation further, one question persists. How did these platforms, created to bring us together, evolve into potential weapons of war? What forces, political, economic, military, converged to turn our virtual meeting places into battlegrounds? And perhaps most chilling of all, how easily we might be manipulated within this new war zone, often unaware we're pawns in a game much larger than ourselves. This is the story of the birth of digital weapons, where the tools of connection became the weapons of conflict, and the digital landscape was forever altered by those who saw in it a new realm of power to be exploited. In the dim glow of our screens, beneath the facade of convenience and connection, there lurks a cold, calculating mind, an ever-evolving labyrinth of code and intention. Here, algorithms reign supreme, silently sculpting the world in ways we rarely notice, yet profoundly feel. They are the invisible architects of our reality, meticulously designed not just to inform, but to entrap, to manipulate, to divide. And what happens when the architects and their blueprints decide to tip the scales toward chaos? It begins with the recommendation systems, those insidious gatekeepers of content that curate what we see, what we click, what we believe. These systems are cunning in their design, built on complex models of engagement, seeking not truth or harmony but what keeps us glued to the screens. Suddenly, our feeds are less about information and more about reinforcement, confirmation biases amplified, extremes magnified. What's suggested isn't neutral. It's tailored to push emotional buttons, to provoke outrage, to ignite passions that burn hotter than curiosity. Watch the delicate dance of data points turning into weaponized recommendations. A user scrolling, searching for relief from boredom encounters a video that sparks a fleeting curiosity, only to be led deeper into a maze of conspiracy theories or partisan rhetoric. One recommendation leads to another, each carefully calibrated to deepen the divide. Algorithms learn our fears, our prejudices, our frustrations, then sell them back to us with an efficiency that feels personal, almost intimate. And in this microcosm of endless choice, bias seeps in like a silent stain. Algorithms are not neutral. They're constructed on datasets tainted by human prejudices, past and present. If the training data is biased, the machine's outputs become biased, echo chambers that tune us into particular narratives, silencing dissent or alternative viewpoints. It's no longer an open debate but a monologue echoing within our own reinforced beliefs. The divide isn't accidental, it's engineered, crafted to keep us separate, distrustful, divided. This manipulation extends far beyond individual choices. Behind the scenes, there are techniques, deceptive practices designed to maximize exploitation. Shadows of corporate interests, political agendas, even clandestine actors employ algorithms not just for profit but for power. Micro-targeting, false information, deepfake content. These are the new tools of psychological warfare. Disinformation spreads faster and wider than truth, fueled by algorithms optimized explicitly to stir outrage and discord. They thrive on our fears, our insecurities, feeding chaos with calculated precision. What happens when these algorithms are deliberately nudged to promote division? When the purpose shifts from understanding to control, societies fracture under the weight of curated outrage, as the line between reality and fiction blurs. A single post, amplified by manipulation, can ignite conflict, ignite violence. It starts with a whisper, an incendiary comment here, a shared conspiracy there, then erupts into open hostility across borders and communities. The stakes are higher than ever. We see polarized elections fueled by targeted propaganda, communities torn apart by misinformation, friendships shattered over conflicting narratives engineered to escalate. The algorithms serve their masters by keeping us fighting, distracted, and disengaged from shared realities. They have become agents of chaos, in ways no one fully understands until it's too late. As the footage flickers between the quiet moments of individual users and the vast machinery behind their feeds, a haunting question emerges. Are we truly in control of our choices, or are we merely puppets dancing to the strings pulled by unseen hands? The more we believe in the autonomy of our decisions, the more we fall under the spell of deterministic chaos, an intricate web spun from a system designed to maximize conflict and engagement at any cost. In the shadows of this digital inferno, a faint glimmer of awareness flickers. Some recognize the manipulation, they see the walls closing in. They ask, in quiet desperation, how they became pawns in a game they didn't even realize existed. But for most, the cycle persists, relentless, addictive, pulling us further apart. Every scroll, every swipe, is a step deeper into the abyss. A reminder that beneath the veneer of progress and connection lurks the dark art of chaos, infused into every line of code. And so, we stand on the edge of this abyss, staring into the depths of algorithms designed not just to engage us but to divide us. A question remains: how much of our reality is shaped by these unseen algorithms, and how much are we willing to see before we lose ourselves entirely? The answer is buried deep within the code itself, somewhere in the silence of systems engineered to maximize discord, waiting to be uncovered. This is the quiet war of our age, a war fought not with guns or fists, but with clicks and data points. A war in which the chaos is programmed, and the battleground is our very minds. And as the echoes of their influence grow louder, one thing is clear. When these algorithms deliberately promote division, the fabric of our society begins to unravel, thread by fragile thread, into the darkness from which it was built. In the softly flickering glow of a screen, the world awakens to a relentless stream of images, words, and narratives crafted to shape perceptions and sway emotions. On the surface, it's easy to believe it's just entertainment, a flow of updates from a disconnected digital universe. But beneath this veneer lies a potent machinery, the propaganda machine, fueled by algorithms, clandestine campaigns, and the unyielding desire to control the narrative. It's a machine that doesn't discriminate between truth and fiction. It merely amplifies whatever serves its purpose, whatever stirs the most chaos or obedience. We begin in a dimly lit room, where a researcher sifts through countless social media posts, headlines, memes, and videos, each one a drop in an ocean of misinformation. They have learned to recognize the patterns, how a single false claim can snowball into a viral frenzy, twisting reality in ways that are almost unrecognizable. The world's consensus shifts, subtly yet palpably, as a carefully crafted story takes root in millions of minds. Take a moment to consider the stories that have rocked nations, stories that seemed shaky at first, but then spiraled into full-blown crises. During one recent conflict, a series of videos appeared on social media, purportedly showing horrific atrocities committed by one side. The videos looked convincing, grainy, edited to evoke emotion, and loaded with hashtags that spread like wildfire. Many believed them, but some researchers uncovered that these videos were manipulated clips from previous conflicts, recontextualized or even entirely fabricated, designed to ignite anger and retaliation. As the camera zooms out, we see a shadowy figure in a clandestine office, surrounded by monitors displaying live feeds, news articles, and social media analytics. This is the architect of a covert propaganda campaign, working tirelessly to influence global opinion. Their toolset includes bots that flood comment sections and hashtags, fake profiles that mimic real citizens, and targeted ads that steer viewers toward specific narratives. The campaign is so precise that it can shift public sentiment in hours, framing one side as the aggressors, the other as victims, regardless of the truth. We now cut to a global map dotted with bursts of activity, illustrating how interconnected these disinformation networks are. Each node represents a different country, each with its own campaign. Sometimes these are state-sponsored, secret operatives puppeteering perceptions from behind curtains of plausible deniability. Other times, they are independent actors fueled by ideology, money, or chaos itself. Their messages cross borders effortlessly, igniting flames of distrust, hate, and fear that spread faster than any virus. In the midst of this chaos, we meet a family in a small town thousands of miles away. They watch the news, the real news, or so they think, which is suddenly interrupted by a breaking alert, the opposite of what they had just seen. At first, they dismiss it as a mistake, a technical glitch. But then they see it again, conflicting reports, images that can't both be true. Their world begins to wobble. Is this confusion manufactured? Are they caught in a web of lies spun by unseen puppeteers? The question lingers. Could fake news ignite a real war? History shows us that misinformation isn't just a tool for confusion, it can be a catalyst for violence. In a region rife with tensions, a false report about an attack or a massacre can be enough to spark real bloodshed. Rumors spread via social media are often mistaken for facts, especially in the chaos of conflict, blurring the line between reality and fiction. Sometimes, a single tweet or meme is all it takes to ignite a powder keg. We witness a flashback to a historical event, a previous war fueled by propaganda. Propaganda posters, radio broadcasts, and newspapers all painted enemies in the worst light, dehumanizing entire populations. Now, in the digital age, these tactics have evolved, but the underlying goal remains the same: control the narrative, manipulate perceptions, and sway masses toward violence or obedience. It's a relentless cycle, fueled by the same fears, ambitions, and anxieties that have always fueled conflict. The narrative deepens as we see the story from the perspective of a journalist caught in the middle. They try to verify facts, to uncover the truth, but are met with stonewalling, censorship, and misinformation. Their investigations reveal a startling pattern. During times of crisis, fake news multiplies, intentionally sowing confusion and distrust. Governments and non-state actors exploit digital platforms not just to spread falsehoods but to silence dissent, creating an environment where truth becomes a casualty. As the story approaches its climax, the camera lingers on a young woman scrolling through her social feed. Her eyes are tired, overwhelmed. She has shared stories, liked posts, and now finds herself unable to distinguish what's real from what's fabricated. She feels a deep sense of despair and helplessness. Her mind, like many others, has become a battleground for competing narratives that threaten her reality and her peace. The machinery of disinformation doesn't just manipulate individuals. It sows distrust in institutions, erodes democratic processes, and destabilizes societies. It turns communities against themselves, planting seeds of suspicion that bloom into violence. The consequence is clear. In an age where anyone can be a publisher, the truth becomes a weapon, weaponized by those seeking chaos and control. Just as the screen goes dark, the question lingers, unanswered but pressing. Can we see through this maze? Is there a way to break free from the labyrinth of lies spun by the propaganda machine? Or are we helpless before its relentless pulse, living in the echoes of stories they tried to erase but never fully could? It's a chilling thought, that in a world awash with fake news, the line between reality and fabrication may be the riskiest illusion of all. In the shadowy corridors of the digital world, where data flows like veins through a clandestine organism, the truth remains elusive, buried beneath layers of deception. It begins with whispers, a slow, almost imperceptible hum rising from the depths of the internet, a chorus of lies crafted with precision and purpose. These whispers, once dismissed as mere noise, now echo loudly enough to shake the foundations of trust we hold in our institutions. The revelation surfaces like a sudden thunderclap in a storm. Hackers, cloaked in anonymity, invade the servers of powerful organizations, their colors hidden beneath digital masks. Their actions are no longer sporadic acts of chaos, but calculated strikes meant to sow discord. Files are stolen and leaked, exposing secrets that threaten to topple governments, destabilize economies, and fracture societal bonds. Each breach, each leak, feels like a carefully placed stone in a larger mosaic of manipulation. Alongside these covert hacks, invisible armies of bots swirl across social media platforms, another dark army, designed not to inform but to distort. Lurking behind profiles that seem authentic, these automated entities flood the digital landscape with a relentless barrage of misinformation. Tweets, posts, and comments propagate false narratives with machine-like efficiency, creating illusions of consensus where none truly exist. They amplify divisive content, fueling conflicts and shaping opinions, all while cloaked in the guise of genuine human voices. This digital puppeteering isn't accidental. It's orchestrated, an intricate operation designed to sway public perception, to mold the collective consciousness subtly and ruthlessly. Algorithms are tuned like instruments, amplifying the voices that serve unseen masters, dismantling the fabric of honest civic discourse. The very tools meant to connect us become weapons wielded in a war we don't see, or perhaps refuse to acknowledge. As these revelations unfold, the question gnaws deeper, a persistent gnawing in the minds of those who seek the truth. Who do we trust anymore? Who manipulates these clandestine campaigns from behind the curtain? Is it governments desperate to preserve power? Private corporations seeking profit and influence? Or a secret coalition of elites positioning themselves beyond the reach of accountability? The shadows stretch further, entwining suspicion with fear, blurring the lines between truth and fiction. Within the darkness, certain figures emerge, unsung heroes attempting to pierce the veils of deception. Whistleblowers risking everything by exposing classified operations. Journalists digging into murky waters despite threats, cybersecurity experts relentlessly tracing the digital footprints left behind. Their stories are fragments of light in the overwhelming gloom, each one revealing the scale and scope of these covert efforts. Yet, amid the chaos, a sense of foreboding persists. These operations are not static, they evolve, becoming more sophisticated with each revelation. As one layer peels back, revealing a new set of agents behind the curtain, the treacherous game continues. The lines between reality and manipulation blur, leaving us to wonder if we are free, or merely puppets pulled by unseen strings in an endless dark theater. The more we uncover, the more the shadows seem to lean back, watching, waiting. This digital warfare isn't just about winning battles. It's about rewriting the narrative of power itself. Those pulling the strings are not just players, they are architects of a new order, cloaked in secrecy, whose ultimate goal remains shrouded in darkness. And so, the story continues, as we are left questioning, who truly controls the digital realm? Who's pulling the strings behind this invisible war? The answers are buried deep in the depths of the shadows, hidden, ever-changing, and the truth, like a flickering ghost, slips just beyond our reach, echoing in the silence of the unseen war that rages beneath the surface of our digital lives. In a world where the digital realm once seemed like a space of fleeting memes and superficial exchanges, the potency of online disputes has quietly morphed into a formidable force, capable of shaking the foundations of global diplomacy. It begins with a seemingly innocuous tweet, a comment on a trivial incident, but soon spirals into a firestorm that fuels broader geopolitical tensions. The ripple effect is immediate and relentless, like a pebble dropped into a still pond, but with waves that threaten to drown entire nations. On a cold morning in early spring, diplomatic staff around the world awakened to alarming headlines. What started as a social media spat between two leaders had swiftly escalated into a full-blown crisis. The initial tweet, laced with sarcasm and veiled accusations, was meant as a rhetorical jab. But in the digital age, even the sharpest sarcasm can cut deep, especially when wielded by someone wielding state power. News outlets pick up on it, amplifying the rhetoric, transforming a petty feud into a matter of national pride. Behind closed doors, diplomats scramble. Intelligence agencies monitor the social media platforms with intense focus, as if the language of tweets and memes now carries strategic importance. The embers of conflict are fanned by misinformation campaigns, fake accounts fueling outrage and distrust. What was once perceived as an online clash over a national insult suddenly reveals itself as a catalyst for larger geopolitical maneuvering, exposing underlying tensions that had been simmering beneath diplomatic veneer. As the crisis deepens, the international community watches with bated breath. Countries align themselves, not necessarily on ideological grounds but based on perceived allegiance, or even digital allegiances forged through online networks. A patriotic post shared and reshared by millions becomes a digital battleground, where each repost, each comment, becomes a soldier in a new kind of warfare. Political leaders, now more than ever, recognize the power of the online sphere. They scramble to control their narratives, employing social media to rally domestic support or to diffuse the mounting tensions. Yet the very tools designed for connectivity deepen the divide. Misinformation spreads like wildfire, the truth becoming increasingly elusive amid a sea of conflicting narratives. What once would have been dismissed as trivial banter now becomes the focal point of international discord. In digital forums designated for diplomacy, secret negotiations unfold. Behind the scenes, diplomats attempt to cool tensions simmering from the contagion of online anger. But their efforts are often drowned out by the torrent of notifications. Memes mocking one leader, hashtags attacking another, viral videos illustrating supposed national betrayals. The online sphere becomes a mirror of global distrust, magnified and distorted. The dominoes fall swiftly. Economic sanctions are proclaimed through tweets, military movements are hinted at in cryptic posts, and borders, once physical lines on a map, are now etched in the responses and retweets shaping public opinion. A single online incident ignites protests in the streets, tensions boiling over into real-world clashes. The line separating digital conflict from physical violence blurs further, revealing a sinister truth. In this interconnected age, social media is no longer just a tool of influence, it is an instrument of destabilization. The stakes are monumental. The phrase, cyber diplomacy, takes on literal meaning as nations confront the vulnerability of their digital infrastructure. Countries amass cyber armies, not just to defend but to project power where physical armies might hesitate. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens become pawns in a larger game, divided, manipulated, and mobilized by forces they scarcely understand. In this new era, even the smallest spark on social media can ignite a wildfire of geopolitical consequences. An insult, a misinterpreted joke, or an accidental leak can escalate into diplomatic crises requiring days of damage control. Leaders face enormous pressure to navigate this digital minefield, aware that their words, once released into the electronic ether, can either foster peace or precipitate chaos. The silent yet omnipresent influence of online disputes exposes a stark reality. The digital sphere, once thought to be detached from the tangible world, is now the front line of global tensions. Social media has proven to be a double-edged sword, capable of uniting and informing, yet equally powerful in dividing and destabilizing. As night falls over the capitals rocked by controversy, the realization dawns on all. We are living in a time where the line between virtual and real has vanished. Online sparks can ignite real-world flames, burning through the fragile fabric of international relations. Can this digital game of poker be controlled? Or are we all merely players in a high-stakes conflict, where social media pushes entire nations to the brink? And as the screen fades to black, the question remains unanswered: how much longer can the world afford to ignore the volatile power of the digital battlefield, where every tweet is a missile, every post a battleground? In the dim glow of screens flickering against the dark, a new battlefield emerges. A war fought not with bullets or bombs, but with lines of code, algorithms, and manipulated data. On this digital front, shadows move swiftly across the web's vast expanse, orchestrating chaos with surgical precision. It's a silent war, yet its ripples are felt deep within the core of societies, governments, and everyday individuals. The critical infrastructures, power grids, financial systems, communication networks, become pawns and prizes, vulnerable to the unseen hands pulling the strings behind keyboards and firewalls. An example surfaces: an entire nation's electricity grid suddenly shudders, lights flickering and dying across sprawling cities. Officials scramble as reports pour in, social media platforms flooded with messages claiming the blackout is a natural failure, but intelligence agencies know better. They suspect a coordinated attack, launched through the exploitation of vulnerabilities in digital infrastructure. Somewhere in the shadows, hackers and state-sponsored actors work tirelessly, their targets meticulously chosen: a dam's control system, a hospital's data servers, the digital backbone of transportation. Each attack crafted with the precision of a scalpel, designed to destabilize, to sow fear and confusion. Meanwhile, social media becomes a weapon of mass manipulation, weaponized to deepen divisions, fuel unrest, and obscure the truth. False narratives spread rapidly. An official statement suddenly turned into outright lies, propaganda cloaked as authentic news. Algorithms amplify sensationalism, drawing millions into echo chambers where discord festers. Troll farms and automated bots flood timelines with disinformation, an orchestrated narrative designed to fracture trust, ignite riots, and undermine authority from within. It's a psychological battlefield, where perception is weaponized more powerfully than ever before. In one of the most alarming incidents, a well-known financial institution is targeted through a sophisticated cyber attack, reminiscent of a digital raid. Hackers infiltrate the banking system, initiating a cascade of transactions that threaten to wipe out savings and destabilize markets overnight. Panic spreads through the economic corridors of the world's financial centers, not because of physical destruction, but because of the orchestrated fear created by manipulated data. Stock markets tremble as rumors, sown and amplified by bot-driven chatter, suggest a systemic collapse. The threat isn't just to money, it's a blow to confidence, a blow to stability itself. Beyond the tangible damages, these conflicts blur the lines between imagination and reality. Are these merely isolated incidents, or are they signs of something more insidious, a creeping digital war? Governments now deploy cyber units, specialized operatives who navigate the dark corridors of the internet, responding to threats that evolve in real time. Some strike back with counter-hacks, but often they're met with retaliation, a dangerous game of digital escalation, with each side pushing the boundaries further, inching closer to open conflict. As we observe these unfolding events, a haunting question persistently lingers. How close are we to a full-scale digital war? Are the chaos we witness today mere skirmishes, or are they preambles to an all-out cyber confrontation that could plunge the world into darkness? An era where lines between life and machine, peace and war, become indistinguishably blurred. Warnings from security experts grow louder. Many believe we're teetering on the edge, with the fragile peace maintained only by covert diplomacy and technological deterrence. The digital battleground has no borders, no clear front lines, only an ever-expanding web of threats and vulnerabilities. It's a war fought in the shadows, where unseen enemies manipulate the world's most critical systems with impunity. As technology advances, so does the sophistication of these attacks. Artificial intelligence ineptitudes and deepfake technologies turn every communication, every piece of information into a potential weapon. The question is no longer if a major cyber conflict will occur, but when, and how devastating its fallout might be. The darkness lurking behind these digital operations should serve as a stark reminder of our interconnected world's fragility. We stand on the cusp of a new epoch, one where the war isn't fought with guns or tanks, but with zeros and ones. It's a quiet, relentless storm that can silence a nation's lights, destabilize economies, or sever the very threads that hold societies together. That digital storm is gathering strength, and as we look to the horizon, the ominous possibility looms. Are we prepared for the chaos that may come when the cyber frontlines spill over into the tangible world? When the virtual chaos manifests in real destruction, the line between peace and war in this cyber age is razor thin, and it's perilous to assume we are safe behind our screens. The silent conflict rages on, unseen but profoundly felt, as the controllers of this new war forge their relentless path forward. Hidden in the depths of the digital abyss, waiting for the moment to unleash a chaos so profound, so total, that it will redefine our understanding of conflict itself. And in this darkness, the echoes of their attack threaten to erase everything we hold dear. Unless we wake up to the reality of the war we are already entangled in. In the depths of the digital landscape, beneath the gleam of screens and the echo of hums from servers, there lies a shadowy battlefield. It's a terrain where humans become unwitting pawns, manipulated through subtle linguistics and calculated appeals, their minds ensnared in webs woven by unseen architects. Imagine a young influencer, her followers number in the millions, seemingly sharing her authentic thoughts, her candid moments. Yet, behind her screen, she's a vessel, a tool used by forces she'll never know exist, her words twisted by algorithms designed to amplify division. Consider her stream. The comments flood in, some supportive, others hostile, but in the chaos, a pattern emerges. She's not aware of the subtle nudges steering her content, the hidden hands that influence her narrative. Her influence isn't organic. It's a carefully calibrated weapon aimed at a specific target, her audience. And within this audience, some are swayed, their convictions hardened, their perceptions distorted, their distrust deepened. They aren't conscious of the puppeteering, that their beliefs are being molded by the sequences of data curated for maximum impact. Shift focus now to the online radicals, those radicalized not through violence in the streets, but through the virtual echo chambers built to nurture extremism. Here, individuals find communities that validate their darkest thoughts, fueling their descent into hatred and violence. These platforms become breeding grounds for conspiracy theories meticulously designed to breed paranoia. Each share, each comment, pushing them closer to the edge, where ideology morphs into action. The radical isn't just an agent of chaos, they're an enacted script, a character in a delicate play crafted by individuals behind the curtain, orchestrating chaos with precise timing. And what of the users manipulated into this frenzy? Millions wandering through digital labyrinths, their perceptions forever altered. They scroll aimlessly, absorbing narratives crafted to evoke strong emotional reactions: anger, fear, hatred. Their minds are not their own, they are battlegrounds. Their choices, their beliefs, shaped by targeted advertising, fake news, viral memes, are the byproducts of algorithms finely tuned to exploit their vulnerabilities. Each click, each share, serves a purpose. They become unwitting soldiers in a war they don't see, fighting over a palimpsest of truth etched by unseen hands. But what drives this manipulation? Power, money, influence, motives that stretch beyond individual gain into the vast fabric of geopolitical strategy. Foreign entities, clandestine organizations, corporate interests, each with vested stakes, invest in these digital conflicts as if playing a game of chess on a world scale. They implant seeds of discontent, stoke divisions, and erode trust, all beneath the veneer of personal choice. The individuals involved are unaware of the grand design. They are merely actors following scripts whispered into their consciousness, scripts written in lines of code and psychological exploitation. This raises a profound question. Are we all just soldiers, either knowingly or unknowingly, in a relentless digital conflict? Is our perception of choice genuine? Or are we merely responding to stimuli laid out for us, like pieces on a board governed by unseen players? The line between creator and puppet blurs as we examine the roles of influencers, radicals, manipulated users, and those who pull their strings. They spread messages that fracture societies, ignite passions, push civilizations toward chaos, all under the guise of free expression. Peel back the layers, and it becomes clear that these mechanisms aren't accidental. They've been engineered with meticulous precision, harnessing human psychology and social dynamics to serve a purpose far beyond individual interactions. They shape collective consciousness, sometimes subtly, other times brutally, altering the fabric of reality itself. Whether someone is voluntarily participating or unknowingly complicit, the impact is the same: a fractured world in which human connection is weaponized and trust becomes a scarce commodity. Across the landscape of this digital warfare, the cost is unseen lives. People who have been manipulated into irreparable beliefs, communities torn apart by misinformation, individuals led to despair, violence, or apathy by forces they cannot comprehend. The insidious influence is systemic, pervasive, and relentless. We are all playing roles, whether as the manipulated, the propagators, or the architects behind the scenes, locked in an ongoing struggle where human empathy is the first casualty. As the narrative unfolds into this murky abyss, one must ask, What is real anymore? What defines truth in this era where data is weaponized, where perceptions are manufactured? The lines between truth and fiction fade like shadows at dawn. Our humanity is being weaponized, commodified, exploited. We're caught in a digital storm that threatens to erase the very essence of individual agency, leaving us as mere fragments of the people we once believed ourselves to be. And yet, amid the chaos, a flicker of awareness emerges. Perhaps it's the consciousness that's awakening, a realization that the digital battlefield is a mirror of the human condition, a reflection of our fears, desires, and vulnerabilities. Recognizing our role as both victims and potential resistors is the first step toward reclaiming agency. The question remains: how many will see through the illusions? How many will awaken from this digital nightmare and reclaim the human element that these forces seek to erase? In this vast, shadowed expanse of influence and manipulation, we are all intertwined, players, pawns, and, ultimately, spectators. The conflict is ongoing, the lines blurred, and the stakes higher than ever. This is the silent war where the human element is used as a weapon, a tool, a battlefield. It's a haunting reflection of a world where control is maintained not through boots and guns but through shadows cast on our minds, and where the true victory lies in awakening from the illusion, before all that remains is the echo of what we once were. The screen flickers to life with a dim, almost ghostly glow, a montage of images flashing faster than the eye can process. Crowds clashing in the streets, monuments crumbling beneath fire and smoke, flags torn and discarded as cries of anger echo through the chaos. The solemn voice begins, heavy with weight and regret. What if we told you that the flames of this chaos were ignited not by politicians or armies, but by the very tools meant to unite us? The digital battlefield, social media, has become the new powder keg, a place where words are weapons and misinformation spreads like wildfire, often with deadly consequences. Remember the viral video that sparked mass violence in a small city? The one shared thousands of times before anyone questioned its authenticity? A seemingly innocent post, a compilation of images, a misrepresented story, then sprouting like weeds across feeds around the world. It was enough to turn neighbors into enemies, to ignite fires that took days, even weeks, to smother. Innocent lives lost in the street fights started by whispers of betrayal and lies, fueled through endless scrolling. And it didn't stop there. As the unrest grew, entire communities fractured. Schools closed, businesses burned. What was once a peaceful protest turned into a battleground, clashes fueled largely by misinformation and algorithm-driven outrage. The digital narratives, distorted and amplified, became the cement binding strangers into mobs, urging them to act not based on facts, but on fears fed by manipulated images and false accusations. The social media posts morphed into calls to action, screams of betrayal, cries for justice. But all too often, they unleashed violence instead. International crisis followed. Governments, spurred by online sparks, issued threats, withdrew ambassadors, and sent troops without clear understanding, a ripple effect of hashtags and tweets morphing into real-world decisions. Diplomatic relations strained to breaking points because of online images misinterpreted, or worse, deliberately taken out of context to serve agendas. An alleged crime in one part of the world became a rallying cry for intervention, despite the absence of concrete evidence. The world watched, helpless and hypnotized by the relentless stream of digital stories that poured over the borders of nations. In another instance, propaganda campaigns manipulated public sentiment. Fake news stories, designed with surgical precision, swayed elections, flooded news cycles with doubt and paranoia. Entire countries found themselves divided, their futures decided in the murky shadow of misinformation, a digital war where the truths were fungible and trust was eroded. And behind these manipulations, unseen hands pulled the strings, fostering chaos for their own gains, feeding on the fractures within society's social fabric. What if this becomes the new normal? What if every protest, every conflict, every crisis is now born from pixels and posts? As social media becomes increasingly pervasive, the line between online and offline begins to dissolve. The digital ceasefire, if it ever existed, crumbles altogether under the weight of relentless conflict and misinformation. The violence we've seen? It's only a glimpse of what might come if we don't wake up. Imagine a world where every grievance, every whisper of injustice, is amplified through the digital echoes, spiraling out of control. Trust, fragile as it is, shattered by the constant barrage of falsehoods. People no longer distinguish between what is real and what is fabricated. Instead, they act based on emotional triggers, on stories designed to provoke, to divide, to conquer. Could we ever stop it? Or are we already in too deep, caught in a cycle where the digital flames feed the physical fires? Every story, every shared video, every comment becomes a spark, potentially catastrophic, lighting a path of destruction that swept across nations, turning neighborhoods into battlegrounds and peace into chaos. And yet, amid this darkness, a question remains. What do we do? Recognize that these tools, when wielded with malice, can catalyze destruction on a scale previously unthinkable. That the very fabric of society, stitched together by trust and shared realities, is fraying under the relentless assault of misinformation and online violence. The haunting realization: if we continue down this path, to treat social media as an unfiltered, unmoderated arena, we risk embracing a world where conflict is not an anomaly, but the norm. Where peace becomes an illusion, and the echoes of our digital battles reverberate through the streets, through our lives, forever altering what we thought was possible. So, what if this becomes the new normal? The unsettling possibility that the virtual sparks of today will ignite the real fires of tomorrow. The thought chills the spine, a stark warning, urging us to reflect, before the digital chaos we have unleashed consumes us all. In the flickering shadows of the digital age, where every click and scroll leaves an invisible trace, a question lingers in the dark. Can we truly fight back? The air is thick with the hum of distant servers and encrypted whispers, as if the very fabric of our interconnected world pulses with a quiet tension. The screen flickers to life, revealing images of people engaging in digital literacy programs, children learning to identify phishing scams, elders deciphering secure passwords, citizens being empowered to navigate the web with confidence. Here, knowledge becomes a weapon, a shield in the ongoing war for digital sovereignty. But awareness alone isn't enough. We see lawmakers convening in shadowed chambers, drafting new regulations that seek to tame the wild west of the internet. Billboards glow with messages about stricter cyber laws, international treaties designed to hold perpetrators accountable. Through the window, we catch sight of cyber policing units deploying sophisticated defenses, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, artificial intelligence scanning for anomalies, an unseen army fighting continuously behind the scenes to defend our digital borders. Yet, as we delve deeper, the narrative takes us inside the labyrinth of digital defense, an intricate dance of innovation and resilience. Engineers harness advancements in artificial intelligence, creating autonomous systems that anticipate and neutralize threats before they manifest. Quantum encryption promises a future where intercepting communication becomes virtually impossible, transforming our data into an unbreakable fortress. These technologies aren't just tools, Their acts of rebellion, fierce declarations that, despite the shadows, the light of security can be maintained. But questions loom. Are these measures enough? Is the arsenal of current defenses sufficient against the evolving strategies of cyber adversaries? We see scenes of cyber attacks, hacking groups deploying sophisticated malware, nation-states launching covert operations, black markets exchanging hacking tools, reminding us that the battlefield is relentless and unforgiving. Each breach unravels a piece of our digital fabric, exposing vulnerabilities and sparking fears of a future where our entire infrastructure could crumble under invisible assault. In this tense landscape, communities and individuals are encouraged to take ownership of their digital safety. Beyond technological defenses, a cultural shift is emerging, a global movement advocating for digital literacy not just as a skill, but as a fundamental right. Educational initiatives broadcast vital information across borders, turning ordinary users into vigilant guardians. They learn to recognize manipulative tactics, to protect their personal data, to act with awareness and responsibility. Every educated mind becomes a bulwark, a node in a resilient network resistant to manipulation and intrusion. Yet, obstacles remain. Power struggles, political agendas, and economic interests often hinder the implementation of robust regulation. The digital sphere is global. What is effective in one region may be ignored in another. The dark whispers of the underground echo louder amid these cracks, reminding us that while regulation sets the stage, it's ultimately human action, determined, courageous, and unwavering, that decides the outcome. In these moments, the narrative becomes introspective. We ask ourselves, can technology alone safeguard our future? Can policies and defenses keep pace with those who exploit our vulnerabilities? There's an acknowledgement that the fight extends beyond zeros and ones. It's a moral war, a test of collective will. As the scene darkens, the camera lingers on a solitary figure staring at a screen illuminated by lines of code, a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. Their gaze is unwavering, a silent promise to stand guard against the chaos lurking in the shadows. Somewhere in the depths, an unspoken truth emerges, that the fight for our digital future is ongoing, demanding vigilance, innovation, and unity. The chapter closes with a haunting question echoing in the silence. Amidst the relentless evolution of threats, is it truly possible to safeguard our digital future? Or are we destined to live on the edge of uncertainty, forever battling an invisible enemy that adapts faster than we can understand? The darkness seems to listen, silent but waiting. The answer remains elusive, yet the fight persists. We are all part of the ongoing battle in this new frontier, where every act of resistance leaves a ripple, proof that, in the depths of the digital abyss, hope still flickers. In the shadowed silence of a world teetering on the edge of uncertainty, the question burdens the air like a specter haunting the collective consciousness. What future awaits us if we do not act now? In the quiet moments before dawn, as the world breathes in the stillness, a delicate dichotomy unfolds. A vision of what could be, shaped by the choices inscribed within our digital footsteps. Imagine a realm where social media is a sanctuary rather than a battleground. Visualize a landscape bathed in gentle hues of hope, where connectivity nurtures understanding instead of inciting division. In this peaceful digital universe, technology becomes a bridge, uniting diverse perspectives, fostering empathy, and inspiring collective action. The screens glow softly with stories of kindness, communities uplifting each other, movements born from compassion and shared purpose. Here, social media is a tool for healing, a mirror reflecting our highest aspirations rather than our lowest fears. It's a place where voices rise in chorus to amplify love, resilience, and the unyielding human spirit. Yet, beneath this idyllic surface, the threat of complacency lurks. A false sense of security that can lull us into silence while the world outside crumbles. Now, shift your gaze to a different scene. A world torn apart by digital chaos. A universe ravaged by disinformation, hatred, and apathy. In this dystopian reality, social media is a battlefield. Its once promising potential twisted by algorithms that prey on our fears, spreading falsehoods with insidious precision. Echo chambers deepen, polarizing societies, dismantling the fragile fabric of trust that once held us together. The digital landscape is now a wasteland of misinformation, where conspiracy theories flourish like weeds choking out truth. Misinformation feeds violence, sparks unrest, and deepens divisions. Each click, each share, fueling the cycle of chaos. Social media, so potent and persuasive, becomes a weapon rather than a tool, a catalyst for conflict rather than understanding. Both worlds ignite a million questions about the path we are forging, about the decisions that lie ahead. Will we stand by and watch as the digital landscape morphs into a refuge of despair or a beacon of hope? The power resides within us, concealed behind screens and within algorithms, waiting to be wielded or forsaken. The choices we make today echo into tomorrow's realities, shaping a future that could be either a darker existence or a dawn of renewal. What if we continue to ignore the warnings? If we allow social media to become a mirror of our worst impulses, what will become of our society? The fabric of truth will fray and unravel, leaving behind a fractured world where trust is a relic. Social disintegration will accelerate. Communities will splinter further, each side enshrined within their own digital echo chambers, deaf to the voices beyond the screen. The digital age, which promised unity and progress, may instead become our undoing, a Pandora's box open with every click, unleashing chaos that feeds itself. The human capacity for empathy and understanding could dwindle into shadows, replaced by suspicion and fear dominant online. But there's a flicker of possibility, a fragile glimmer that whispers of hope. It's in the small acts of mindfulness, the conscious choices we make in sharing and consuming content. It rests in the collective acknowledgement of our responsibility to foster safe spaces, to elevate voices that seek truth, to challenge falsehoods with unwavering resolve. It is a call to reclaim social media as a tool for connection and enlightenment, rather than division and deception. As this realization dawns, it becomes clear that the future is not dictated solely by technology, but by our collective moral compass. We are the architects of the digital world we inhabit, those who can choose whether it is a sanctuary or a ruin. The question remains: what will the future hold? Will we heed the warning signs, or will we let the digital chaos drown our hopes? The stakes are higher than ever. Every post, every shared story, every voice added to the chorus has the potential to shape the world's destiny. It is a moment carved out of time, a crossroad where choices define generations. If we act with courage, with purpose, if we refuse to let fear and ignorance govern our digital lives, perhaps the dawn we seek is still within reach. A new hope arises, not from the technology itself, but from the hearts and minds behind the screens, unified in the pursuit of a better, kinder future. And yet, the shadows lengthen as apathy threatens to engulf us. The media echoes with warnings, yet many turn away, distracted by their own struggles. The cyber abyss beckons those who are unprepared, promising power and influence for those willing to use it irresponsibly. The dark forces lurking in the depths of the internet, those who thrive on chaos, division, and despair, grow bolder with each passing day. If left unchecked, They will reshape our digital world into a dystopia more haunting than any nightmare. A place where truth is a fleeting shadow and hope is a distant memory. The movie of our digital age continues, unfolding layer by layer, scene by scene. It is a story of human agency, the narrative of you and me, woven into the fabric of a future yet unwritten. The outcome hinges on our choices. The question echoes in the silence before the storm. What will we decide? Do we allow the darkness to consume us, or do we reach for the faint light of hope that still flickers, fragile yet fierce? The answer depends on the courage we muster now, in this moment, before the digital dawn slips away forever. This is our call to action. To shape a future where social media becomes a sanctuary of truth and compassion rather than a battleground of lies and hate. Because if we don't act now, if the tide of apathy and indifference continues to swell unchecked, what future awaits us? A darker, more fractured world. One where hope is severed, and the digital landscape becomes a wasteland of despair. Or perhaps, just perhaps, a new beginning, where the roots of empathy and understanding are cultivated anew, binding us tighter than ever before, forging a future in which hope can flourish once more. The choice, ultimately, is ours to make.